All right, how is everyone doing today? Welcome to my channel, an educational channel that attempts to shed light on different theories of everything, mostly things that you have not heard of before until you arrived at this channel. And today is video number 251 on the reciprocal system of theory. This is a system of theory that was first derived by Dewey B. Larson, starting way back in about 1930, and he kept working on it up until his death in 1990. Wrote a lot of books, articles, and gave a lot of talks. The basic idea behind the reciprocal system is that we live in a universe made out of motion, which contrasts sharply with other people who've said that we live in a universe of matter or perhaps a universe of energy. But for Larson, matter and energy are just merely two different kinds of motion, as are really all of the scientific phenomena that you find out there, whether it is scientific quantities, speed, or acceleration, force, resistance, electrical capacitance, electric current, electric charge, magnetic flux, permeability, permittivity, fluidity, viscosity, and many, many others. But they are all kinds of motion. And for Larson, motion is the relationship between space and time. Larson also sometimes even referred, even in his early works, referred to motion as simply space-time. Later on, he also referred to motion, this motion, as change in 3 dimensions. And so that's part of his first postulate. He came out with 2 fundamental postulates in the 1950s, late 1950s, before he started to really write all of his books. And in that first postulate, time and space both have coordinate aspects, meaning that they both come in 3 or more dimensions. We're very accustomed to the idea of space having 3 or more dimensions, but not so with time. But Larson, a fundamental tenet of the reciprocal system is that space and time are the same, except that they are inverses or reciprocals of each other, the reciprocal system of theory. And so whatever qualities adhere to space also adhere to time, and vice versa. Motion is basically a fraction that has time or space as the numerator and space or time as the denominator. And again, they can be in multiple dimensions: coordinate space, coordinate time. There's also a scalar aspect to space and time, meaning that they move in a manner that has a magnitude but has no particular direction, or all directions, which you would envision by taking a balloon with a magic marker, putting dots on the balloon, and blowing up the balloon. All the dots are moving away from each other, but there is no particular direction, or really all particular directions. And so this can be summed up, the net motion can be summed up in a clock that is moving in a constant magnitude, constant speed, uh, in one dimension. And so that's what Larson calls clock time and clock space. We're accustomed to the idea of clock time. Time is always getting later and later and later, but in no particular direction. And clock space is the idea that space is always getting farther and farther and farther apart, but in no particular direction. This was observed by the Hubble telescopes back in the 1920s, that observed that all of the distant galaxies are moving away from each other. And then also within the first postulate, Larson posits that space and time only come in discrete units. There's a minimum unit of time and a minimum unit of space. If you don't have one full unit of space, then you do not have space. And if you do not have one full unit of time, then you do not have time. Larson calls these areas the time region and the space region, respectively. If you don't have space, then you just have time. And if you don't have time, then you just have space, because it's got to be one or the other. Because the universe is made out of motion, and motion is the relationship between space and time. So the universe has got to be made out of one of the two, or both. And when you have exactly one unit of space in one unit of time, that is the speed of light. And so that is the third boundary that we set up here in this reciprocal system. The speed of light is the midpoint of the universe. Half of the universe is moving faster than the speed of light, which Larson calls the cosmic sector. Half the universe is moving slower than the speed of light. This is the half that we're more familiar with, and this is the half that has the coordinate space and the clock time. 3 dimensions of space progressing through time. In the cosmic sector, we have 3 dimensions of time progressing through space. And then within this material sector, the slower than the speed of light sector, we have the time region, the region of less than 1 unit of space. And in the cosmic sector, the region of 3-dimensional time, we have the space region. This is the region of less than 1 unit of time. So we have 3 boundaries there. We have the unit speed boundary, the speed of light as unit speed, 1 unit of space in 1 unit of time equals unit speed. 1 over 1 equals 1. And that is the boundary between the material and cosmic sectors. But then within the material sector, we have the unit space boundary, which is the boundary to the time region. And then within the cosmic sector, we have the unit time boundary, which is the region boundary toward the space region. So Larson basically took these postulates, that first postulate along with another one that basically has to do with the universe conforms to the relations of ordinary commutative mathematics. Its magnitudes are absolute and its geometry is Euclidean. This postulate is not as important as the first one, and it has been disputed by several of Larson's successors, including Dr. Bruce Perret, who we'll be hearing from today, who claims that the universe is actually projective, of which Euclidean geometry is a subset of projective geometry. So Larson isn't exactly incorrect, but he was not inclusive enough. So anyway, Larson took these postulates and then he did a process of deduction and determined an entire theoretical universe. And then he compared his theoretical universe with the one that the legacy scientists had come up with. And there is a large swath of agreement there, but the disagreement occurred in what you would call the relativistic aspects. The same issues that Einstein had with Newton are the same areas that Larson has with Newton. So Larson has a book that's called Beyond Newton. He pretty much disagrees with Einstein on all matters except for the E equals mc squared part, and takes Newton as more of a jumping off point. Okay, now we're going to try to look at this paper that was written by Dr. Bruce Perret, who is one of Larson's major revisers after Larson's death in 1990. Perret himself died back in 2020, but wrote a bunch of papers, including what he calls the Daniel papers, that he wrote under a pseudonym, Daniel Phoenix III, who he claims was a computer programmer for the Montauk Project, the Dark Black Ops Project, time travel, top secret government operation that was going on in the early 1980s. And this paper is the third part of his anthropology series on the hidden origin of Homo sapiens. This paper is called Homo sapiens ethicus, life, death, reincarnation, and ascension. And we have been reading this paper for, I think, 4 or 5 days here. And so if you want to get the skinny on everything that we've been talking about, you probably want to go back to those previous videos and listen to the rest of the paper. But we're going to start here with this section that is called The Realm of Illusion, the Density of Choice. And Perret basically, he uses the reciprocal system as a jumping off point, but he has a number of different other, theories, cosmologies that he tries to also employ in his analysis. One of them is Taoism. That's why he's using yin and yang and the Dantians in his analysis. And here he's going to end up getting a little bit into the raw material, the law of one. And you may have looked at that before. The raw material is like 5 books of channeled work. And it is interesting, Perret actually knew Carla, who was the medium for that channeling session. That occurred in, I think, 1981, and it broke real bad at a certain point, and one of the people that was involved was killed I believe by police after he had kind of agreed to take on Carla's illness, and then kind of lost his marbles, and that was Don, the questioner. And Don Elkins was actually a very early follower of Dewey Larson and the reciprocal system. So there is a pretty tight connection between the law of one material and the reciprocal system that probably most people don't know about. But so Dr. Perret is going to get into all this right here. The realm of illusion, the density of choice. An integral part of the transition zone, particularly applicable to the more complex organisms such as humanity, is the realm of illusion, referred to in the law of one material as the density of choice. It is reached when there is sufficient chi and one has judged their life to have been worthwhile. They have accomplished what they set out to do in life and are at relative peace with the with the complexes of the psyche. The realm of illusion considers the larger picture, not only what you did with your life, but how your actions have affected others. With a single determining factor, did your actions help the evolution of consciousness? This determination is non-judgmental as to orientation, as a self-serving act may result in the evolution of consciousness just as easily as a charitable act would. This realm is described in ancient records as containing an environment that is manifested by the intentions behind the actions you took during your lifetime, or death time, as the case may be. As the immortal realms consider intention over action, it is a realm of thought forms created by the chi bioenergy. When one chooses to treat this artificial reality as a real, tangible environment, they have elected to reincarnate through one of the service paths: service to self or service to others. The chi of the person is released into the environment so they can experience this service path and eventually be born again in the mortal realm or the other realm, depending on the one they departed. Here, entities can remain for centuries of clock time until they figure out that they are basically on a holodeck of their own making, and the environment they are living is nothing more than a projection of their own unconscious. Now, holodeck is an artificial reality reality suite popularized in the Star Trek Next Generation series. In case you don't know that. That realization will stir the movement of the bioenergy field that has been used to create all the structure and interactions around you. Your artificial reality collapses and you get an influx of chi. So what to do with it? At this point, what was real becomes unreal, and the chi that was sustaining the system is returned to conscious control, but at an elevated stage. The energy returns as Shen, indicating that the reincarnation process is not going to work for the further development of the consciousness of the organism. Some people will get pissed off and use that chi to repel the world around them. This normally happens with service to self based individuals who believe that they are the center of the universe to begin with. As a result, balance is lost and they proceed to the underworld, the more classic Christian hell, where this energy can be literally burned off. Alternately, some will fall in love with the experience, handing their chi off to others and get sent to the overworld, where they can continue the experience for a long and loving time until they run out of chi and fall back into the incarnative process. Again, There is a third path available that emerges after you realize you're on the holodeck and accept this artificial reality of thought forms for what it is, a really good education on how to balance yourself. At that point, you can just call up the arch and computer and program. The released chi has nowhere to go via an unconscious act of service, so it is yours to command. After all, chi is intelligent, so introspect on your holodeck experience, and that introspection will convert chi to shen and open up the third path, the first stage of ascension. Okay, then he has another flow chart here, which at some point we will look at a little bit more detail. But the next section is called the ascension process. When the ethical man, through a conscious and knowing act, generates sufficient shen prior to expending his jing, the option becomes available to skip the whole reincarnation drama. There are two entry points into this realm, either through the density of love or hate, fourth density, or through the density of honor, fifth density. The selection depends on how you generated the shen, through rivalry or rapport. This section is called the realm of color, the density of love and hate. There are two doors that enter the realm of color, one from the realm of illusion and the other directly from the process of dying with a sufficiency of shen, but still engaged in the discord of rivalry or competition. Entry into this realm indicates that the organism has developed a sufficient animus with both thinking and feeling aspects to exit the reincarnative system, but has not yet reached the status of immortality, which begins with the entry into the density of honor. This density of love and hate, not like and dislike, the fourth density of the law of one, is a colorful place where the personal choices are at extremes. It is known as the realm of color because of the extreme nature of the values and choices made. Many people that go on chemically induced psychedelic experiences end up here for a short time. Looks good when you get there, but one does not realize what they are actually experiencing because they have skipped over the process to arrive at that destination. This realm acts like an overlay to both the material sector and the cosmic sector, sitting beyond space and time. From this vantage point, both sectors can be viewed and interacted with at the same time. The concept of past and future changes into a complex landscape where a person's body can be seen following one path through space and their soul can be seen following another path through time. Much of the metaphysical folklore regarding travelers from the future or past originate from this realm, as pasts and futures are geographical directions in time. As there are two entrances, there are also two exits from this realm. The first is when shen is expended through continued rivalry and discord, usually through interference in the lower realms. The second exit opens when one brings into balance the extremes of color and becomes gray. A system in sympathy and rapport. which leads to the immortal aspect of ascension. The use of rapport and rivalry do not indicate a dichotomy at this level, but more a level of complexification or dissolution of consciousness. Shen is a conscious energy, whereas Qi is an intelligent energy. Those who engaged in rivalry to generate Shen have basically fought the system using the attractive and repulsive principles of love and hate. Competition can be friendly or hostile, and that forms the basis of rivalry. Rapport, on the other hand, is the pro-consciousness approach that not only provided yourself with the Shen, but assisted others in getting it along the way, frequently confused with service to others. When rapport is the basis of Shen, then one needs not go through the resolution of the competitive methodology and can proceed to the density of honor manifest in the realm of flame. The realm is analogous to the mental plane of other systems, where one obtains the ability to create and destroy structures in the physical spatio-temporal worlds. The reference, the realm of flame, comes from the descriptions of the energetic body resembling that of a flame, yellow or golden in color, vibrant, energetic, though still anthropomorphic. Yellow is the color of mental energy, which is why this realm is equated with the mental realm. Okay, that's the end of that section. And the next section is called Overview of the Mortal and Immortal Realms. We will get into that section starting tomorrow. That'll do it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.